All right. Next thing you're going to do, how do you render this thing and get some pictures, some illustrations to show? All right. The first thing you're going to do is probably come to a view where you can actually see it. The next thing you're going to do, it doesn't matter whether it's the first view or the site plan or whatever. Okay. We're going to hit View under 3D Views. We're going to do Camera. And from that, you're going to pick, first click is the camera spot. The last click is how far it goes past. Once you stop, if I stopped it right here, that is all I would see. That is the picture plane, folks. We've been talking about picture plane through the whole semester in orthographics and isometrics and how you view things. If you stop it here, that's all you're getting. So take it past what you want to see here. Once you do that, it actually comes up nicely. This is the viewport, basically, you're going to look at. It can be edited to show whatever you want, and you don't probably need that much ground plane. If I click on it, it tells the properties of the camera. So we come over here. At the bottom, you'll have an eye level height and a target level height. All right? Both of those things are sort of important. Okay? If you put it in a site plan or the first floor, even the second floor, third floor, whatever view you put it in, it's going to default to 5'6". Oh my God. 5'6" as the eye level. Okay? When that happens, all right, those can be edited. If I wanted a bird's eye view, I would change my camera height to something like 65 feet. And it would get it up above the object. If I wanted a worm's eye view, come up, and I'm tired of dealing with that. If I wanted a worm's eye view, I would take the 5'6" and I would lower it down to the ground. And it would look up. Depending upon the statement you want to make with this illustration, we'll either give you lower, since it's Halloween, we'll take it that direction, all right? A worm's eye view. Looking up gives it a more ominous look. Makes it look bigger than life. Bird's eye view, more dominant. You're above it, everything looking down, okay? Which allows you to see things. If you want an eye level, we'll leave both of the camera and the target at the same height. All right? Now, when you get to this point, and since my thing doesn't want to stay on, all right, you hit R twice. Okay? It brings up the rendering dialog box. From that, a couple things. First off, at the top, there is a render button. Do not click it until you set all the parameters, all right? Secondly, there is a quality window. The quality starts off with draft and ends up with custom, okay? Draft gives you just that, a very rough look at what it's going to actually look like. You go to, what is it, poor, better, best, I think, are the components here. Well, let's just do it real quick so I can see it. All right. Starts off with draft. You got low, medium, high, best, and custom. All right. And then there's one at the bottom called edit. Edit is how you get to custom. Custom, I played around with it the very first time, thinking, let's just have some fun. It's got soft shadows in there, reflective colors, like if you're wearing a red shirt, you get up against the wall, the light's going to hit your red shirt and bounce on the wall, that type of thing, okay? It's got refraction and reflection. You can do the number of reflection bounces, okay? So I thought, let's just do 3 bounces. Refraction, I had water in there, so I refracted it nicely 3 times, okay? The best soft shadows I could possibly get. All right? And everything clicked almost to the maximum. Hit render. This is Friday night. in my office. And I went home. Came back on Monday thinking it had got to be done by then. All right? Clicked it open, 25% rendered. Okay? So let me tell you, rendering can take a lot of time. This is one of those things that you want to keep in your back of your mind, because if you're going to do them, you got to do it ahead of time. Now, the rendering, I guess, algorithms have gotten much, much better from when I did that, 3-day rendering at 25%. I tried this with a new project, and I was doing a sports complex. It was like 38 acres, and it had 2 football fields, a soccer field, a baseball and clover thing, 5 or 7 buildings, all kinds of stuff happening with it. And they wanted a real good rendering to actually get some money, funding, so they could build this thing. So I did best quality, thinking, over the weekend. And hit render at lunch, came back, it was done after lunch. Okay? So your best quality can work out nicely. And it gives you a really good rendering, folks. All right? And at the same time, if you go lower quality, you get these little artifacts, little hot white dots everywhere. Okay? That give you just that look. All right? It's very pixelated looking instead of a nice, smooth, transitional illustration. All right. From that, a couple things. There is a lighting component. There are major aspects of it. It is always defaulted to exterior sun. We're on the exterior, that's what I want. The moment you move to the interior, all right, your sun no longer takes over. It's interior space. And you end up with this nice black rendering, unless you put lights in. Now the light I would strongly suggest that you use, it's called a studio light. All right? What the studio light is a point light system that shines 360 degrees everywhere. And as you put it into your room, it will illuminate everything. I've had one room like this where one studio light gave me this amazing actual rendering. I've had a smaller bathroom where one studio light was not enough. I had to put 7. Okay? So this is where you're going to have to play around and figure out what studio light is going to look best. Okay? Try to focus them toward the center of the room, because if you get them close to a wall, it's going to give you hot spots like the sconces on the wall here. It will literally give you this nice hot spot right there where there's nothing. Okay? So studio lights are pretty nice. Put them in on the ceiling plan, and they usually come in about 6 to 7 feet. Now when you do that, you need to change your light component, the lighting scheme, from exterior sun only to interior artificial only. It's at the very bottom of your list. If you want or have windows nearby and you want to be able to see through the windows, you're going to do interior sun and artificial, which will mean the sun outside will also be shown, and you will get a basically light through your windows. Okay? For that component. Once you get done with that, there is a background component that has sky values. Right now it's on a few clouds in the sky. We'll get this nice blue sky from anywhere from very cloudy to no clouds at all. Few clouds is what normally looks best. Okay? If you leave your camera at the 5'6" height, you're going to get a nice horizon line across there where your ground terminates and the sky starts. All right? The higher you get, the bird's eye view, the more of the ground you're going to see. And if you don't take your topo out past that, you're going to get grass where your topo is, and then you're going to get this dull gray look, okay? I really don't care, all right? You can leave it the dull gray. Leave it down to 5'6" height, you're going to get a nice grass look out to a point where your topo ends, and you'll get just probably a small line across there that's going to look gray. But you're going to get nice blue sky, okay? You only get the blue sky with a camera. If you try to render the 3D view, you will get no background at all. You will get a nice rendering of the building, and that is it. So you only get the sky component when you put a camera in, okay? For the most part. At the bottom, when you get done selecting all this stuff and you hit render, what's going to happen? You're not going to be able to use Revit until that rendering is done. I'm just going to let you know right off the bat. Okay? It will render. You can do other things on the computer, switch to a different application, but that rendering is taking over Revit completely. So unless you save your file as a version B for rendering, you're sort of stuck with just what you're looking at, okay, in the file. Now here's the interesting part, or the worst part, I'd say. And then I'm going to leave you and let you go have some breakfast. The more stuff you have in your file, say you're rendering the exterior, do you really need all the toilets, the bathtubs, the kitchen, sinks, the cabinets, everything included? The answer is no. All right? Unless you're looking through a window and you're physically seeing those things, delete them. Because those objects take up file size in your rendering. The less amount of stuff that you have, the quicker your rendering is going to be. And at the same time, if I was doing an interior rendering of this building or this room, I put my camera here, all I really need is this room. So what I would suggest to you is save your files out as multiple versions. That get it down to interior stuff and then exterior stuff. And then a floor plan, possibly. Okay? Because if you're doing interior renderings of the apartment unit you did, all you need to do is model that single apartment unit. And that's it. You don't need everything else around it. You definitely don't need topo. And you definitely don't need, all of the other 4 apartment units. You're not going to see them. You're not going to see the stairs. You're not going to see the elevator. Okay? Delete it all. Save it out as another version. Get rid of the stuff. It will speed up your rendering time exponentially. I'm telling you this right off the bat. It will save you all kinds of time. Okay? So technically when you get done, if you are doing, and that's a big if you're doing interior renderings, all right, you're probably going to have 3, 4, maybe 5 different Revit files, okay, when you get done with this project. And that's how it's pretty much done in industry. They save things down to the minimum, bare bones minimum stuff, and then they render that, and then be done with it, okay? And I don't know what's happening with this thing. I'll call in another trouble report. Got through the rendering, camera inside. Whatever you do not touch a wall with it. Period. I mean, if you're going to the corner, pull out a foot. Because the minute that camera touches a corner at any point on the camera, it's inside the wall. And I've had people come to me before and say, Clark, I did everything. I got the camera in. It looks good, and it will look great in your basically camera view. But when I go to render it, it was all black. What do? Well, do you have lights in it? Yes, I put lots of lights in it. Okay? Did your lights say, did your rendering box say interior artificial lights? Yes, they did. And I get in, I look at the file, and the camera was touching. I mean, little bit of the corner of the camera, just barely touched the wall. Pulled it out, a foot, hit render, bam, nice rendering happens. Okay? So make sure your cameras don't touch anything. they do, that camera is actually inside the wall. And even though it looks like it's a great thing in your camera view, it will render pure black, okay? Just some helpful tips there. Beyond that, that should get you going. Now, we got sheets to deal with next week. I'm going to talk about the document you're going to create on Wednesday and try to wrap all this stuff up pretty soon, okay? Any questions? Okay.